Good afternoon, everyone. This is Steve Sanaciro, your state senator here in the 10th District in Bucks County. And this is another in our series of community conversations about some of the real treasures that we have here in the 10th District. And today we have the pleasure of meeting with Kyle McKoy, who is the executive director of the Bucks Historical Society. And Kyle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, very, very pleased to, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about the society and the Mercer Museum and Fonthill Castle. But Kyle, let me start by asking you, I guess, the threshold question, which is, who exactly was Henry Mercer?
Henry Mercer was a very proud Doylestown to begin with. Part of the whole Historical Society founding was him being involved as a 24-year-old. So the community history and the stories were always part of him. His family was from here. He has a very long history here. And as you can see, the three buildings that he left behind, they're pretty unique.
They are indeed. They are concrete, correct? Is that what
they are? Concrete. Yes,
yeah.
They are. Between 1908 and 1916 is when Henry Mercer decided to build these concrete structures. One of them was Fonthill Castle, in which he actually lived and entertained, and he also used it as a showcase for his beautiful tiles and his artwork. He also created the Moravian Pottery and Tile Works, the building in which he created his artwork and his tiles. And then, of course, he built Mercer Museum. And a lot of people think that he built the museum and then started collecting. But he actually built the museum for the collection he already had. So he was a collector his entire life. In 1930, when he passed, he had left the Mercer Museum and Fonthill Castle to the Bucks County Historical Society. He left the Moravian Pottery and Tile Works to his business partner, Frank Swain. And that's how the three buildings got separated for the first time. And then through several different ownership, the county of Bucks finally took it over by eminent domain in 1964. And so the county still runs the Moravian Pottery and Tile Works, and Bucks County runs the Mercer Museum and Fonthill Castle.
Great. Well, thank you for that overview. So you said that when he built the museum, let's start with that, that he already had a collection. So aside from being an artist who created beautiful tiles, what were his other interests? What led him to this collection? And tell us a little bit about what the collection is, because it's
absolutely. He was very astute to his surroundings and business and social trends. And when he saw the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, he really feared that machines were going to take over everything, and nothing and nobody was going to take part in handmade items anymore. He saw tools being discarded in trash dumps and things like that. And he thought that he should capture those so people can remember what it was to make something by hand. And that's how his whole tool collection started. He didn't want us to forget that the tools that built the nation were being taken over by machines.
That's great. And so that created this collection that really is unique, and we're very fortunate to have. And tell us a little bit about the space when you walk into the museum, because he really designed it to kind of fit the collection, didn't he?
Yes, and that's actually pretty interesting about him. He was not an architect. He built this by drawings in a notebook. And you can see where he would erase, some of the lines and start over. So you have a very uneven building. It's not like our modern buildings where you get in an elevator and every floor is the same as you go up. There's nooks and crannies and stairs that lead to almost nowhere and turn you around and come back. But he built this because he wanted his collection displayed in a completely unique way. And so he hung items from the ceiling, from the walls, in these little nooks, because he wanted people to look at these ordinary objects in extraordinary ways, in a different point of view. And so there really is a method to the madness. They are cataloged. There is a reason why things are grouped that way. But really, when you walk in, it's just like this cacophony of tools. And it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's very awe-inspiring too when you walk into it.
Yeah, I still remember the first time I walked in there many years ago and was just blown away by the scale of it and just the way it's set up. So it's really fascinating when you go in and see these artifacts, but also just the way, as you say, the way he cataloged and put it all together. So now the castle, you said, was his home, correct?
That's
And
correct.
and I'm guessing based on the tile wall behind you that you are in the castle as we speak. Is that right?
I'm probably the most fortunate executive director in the world because my office is in Fonthill Castle. So yes, this is part of the beauty of his tiles behind me.
Yeah, really, really amazing, beautiful designs and artwork that he created. So tell us a little bit about the castle today. That was his home then. What is it? What's it used for now? Obviously, other than your office.
Well, Fonthill Castle actually was occupied until 1975 when Laura Swain passed away, and she was Henry Mercer's housekeeper and cook. There's magnificent stories of people who remember knocking on the door and having Laura answer, and pretty much they always say if she liked you, she'd let you in and take a tour. If she didn't, she wouldn't let you in. And so we, over the last 4 years since I arrived, we've been trying to get the house back to being a house instead of just a museum. We're very fortunate that Fonthill sits on 69 acres right in the middle of the township. And so we have been working to restore the woodlands. They had been neglected for a while and things were overgrown. We uncovered trails we didn't even know were there. And the public has just been great. That's a great place to go jogging, walking, walk your dog, things like that. And so we built the Welcome Center also so we can have a better bearing getting people oriented before they go on the tour. And we do daily tours. And you get to go through all the nooks and crannies, see all the beautiful tiles that it's so incredible. And people are always blown away after they leave here. They just can't believe how beautiful the inside is.
Yeah, no, it really is, it's great that now you can knock on a door. It doesn't matter whether the person who answers likes you or not. You're going to be able to get in, and that's really a funny story, by the way. But again, we have this really unique and the architecture is kind of similar to the museum building. It's also concrete, which again at that time was unusual. Obviously, later on. Poured concrete was used in a lot of architecture, mostly office buildings, I guess, here in the United States. But this predates most of that. So it's also a very unique structure for that reason as well.
One of the unique things about the structure too is you think about concrete buildings now and how are they built, and you always see these big trucks with the sluice coming down and all of that. And these buildings were built, like I said, between 1908 and 1916 by a team of 8 men and a horse. And when you think about how incredible that feat was, it wasn't until he was building the Mercer Museum that he even used any kind of machinery for mixing the cement at all. It was all hand mixed for the Fonthill Castle and Moravian Pottery and Tile Works.
Well, as someone who in a summer job in college, one of my jobs was mixing cement, I can tell you it's not an easy thing to do. And so I can't imagine on the scale that we're talking about for both of those buildings, or actually all 3 of the buildings, to been able to do that is really, really amazing to think about what it was like at that point to build something on that scale. All right, well, that's great. And tell us a little bit about, when the public can come and visit and how things are now that we're starting, hopefully, to see the light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic.
Yes, and during the pandemic, we were probably one of the most fortunate organizations. Our board and our team, we managed to keep everybody employed during the entire shutdown. And it also gave us an opportunity to redirect staff to come up with new programs. Now, the tours have always happened. We see about 75,000 people per year in a normal year. We are still under COVID restrictions. We are operating at lower capacities. So we do ask you to sign up online so we can control the amount of people going through at any given time. We're following all the COVID protocols and even went so far as to replacing air filters for the air circulation in all the buildings. So we're very careful. We welcome tours coming through. We're looking forward to being able to get back up to capacity. Right now, the interest is still there. So sometimes it takes a little longer to book a tour than it normally would have, but we don't turn people away simply because we don't like them, like Laura Swain did. We also see about, well, it depends on the year, between 5,000 and 8,000 school children. And the school trips are just starting to come back. So we'll see how that works out in the future too. We're looking forward to having all the kids back in the building. And this summer, we're attempting a capacity limited wizarding camp that we hold at the Mercer Museum. And people are signing up like crazy already. I just think people are anxious to get back in the buildings.
Yeah, no doubt. And that sounds great. And hopefully, folks will see this and it'll, if they haven't, if they haven't had the museum and the castle on their radar screen already, hopefully this will put it there and spur further interest and more folks coming out as we start to open up.
I sure hope so. We want the people. We miss people.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, it's been a tough year, but the good news is, as I said, we're almost out of it. So I'm glad to hear that you guys have been able to hang on and get through this trying time. And we look forward to continuing to work with you as we move forward and doing what we can to help out. So one last question for you. Who is Rollo?
Henry was crazy about dogs. And he had several dogs over the years. His main breed that he loved was a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. And one of his favorite dogs was named Rollo.
Okay.
And if you come to Fonthill and even at Mercer, as he was laying the concrete, he would let Rollo run through the buildings. And so you will see Rollo footprints throughout the buildings. Even here in Fonthill, he ran up the stairs and Mercer just decided to leave it and he called him Rollo's staircase.
That's great.
I love dogs. We've got plenty of things to see here too.
Great. Well, for all of us who are dog lovers, we can certainly appreciate that. And it's good to know that that was a side of Henry Mercer that is preserved in concrete, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Everybody sees wet cement. They want to put their prints in it. We got dog paw prints. So.
Right. Well, Kyle, thank you very much for taking the time with us today to talk about this real treasure that we have here in Bucks County, and one of the things that makes our community so special. And thank you for your work and the work of everyone at the Historical Society, year in, year out, and what you do to preserve this part of our heritage.
Well, thank you very much. Your support has been fabulous over the years, and we can't thank you enough. And I think this community conversation is a great idea, and I thank you for thinking of that too.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Kyle.
All right. Thank you very much.